Hello, I'm Mower Man and welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be looking at a Hayter 56 for a customer. This machine has been in my workshop more times than I've been in the workshop this year, if that makes any sense. This machine has been riddled with issues since the day he purchased the machine second or third hand. It is a Hayter 56 that has done a lot of work. I've been doing new carburetors on it, I've been doing auto chokes on it, I've been doing all sorts on it. And every sort of 2 or 3 weeks the machine comes back, and I've started to sort of ask myself a question: is it me? But I don't think it is. I can only fix the problems that I'm presented with and do the best I can do. I do strongly believe that the reason these machines are coming into me, this particular machine, is because of the people that he employs to cut the grass are too rough with the machine. It's as simple as that. And I've been watching my CCTV recently, and when they get it out the van, they were literally just dragging it out the back of a transit van. It's hitting the ground. And it's had multiple issues. But the recent complaint is that since I fixed the machine, this is a machine that appeared on a video a little while ago where it was only running on choke and wouldn't come off the auto choke. I investigated the auto choke, that seemed to be okay, but I did put a auto choke on it. And the cheap Chinese carburetor that he went for, instead of the OEM carburetor, he went for a cheap one. I believe that actually failed. So I actually found a second-hand OEM carburetor in my carburetor box, and I cleaned it all out fully and then got the machine running. The complaint is the machine says, the bloke says, in fact, let me get the message up, that might be easier. I mean, I'm reading it out of the horse's mouth. Because as a small engine mechanic, you do start to ask yourself a question: is it me or what's going on here? So he says, he sent me a video of it leaking fuel, which is fine. That's no drama there. So he's absolutely weeping fuel out the carby. This mower is the first time used since I got it back, and it's leaking fuel and not working again. Worked for about 10 minutes maximum. That's what it says. Now, I fully tested this machine before it went back, and I cut my own grass with it, and for about 35-40 minutes, stop and start the machine, empty the grass box. I took about 4 boxes worth of grass off my lawn. And then I had the machine here for about 2 days, and I started and stopped it in between, and it was holding fuel. I even delivered the machine back to the bloke, and it started and stopped and had no problem. It was holding fuel. So for whatever reason it is now, it's leaking fuel, and whether it's failing to start or not running, I don't know. But let's go outside, have a look at it, see if it doesn't start up of its own back, and then we'll go from there, and we'll see what happens. If this is your first time watching Mower Man, hit the old subscribe button and whack the old bell. Set your notifications to all, that way you'll be told next time I upload another video. Right, let's have a look. Here it is up here. Hayter 56. Now, I do know there's no fuel in it. That I do know. But there might be enough fuel in it just to start it. In the bowl, possibly. But then it was leaking fuel as well. So I don't know. So I've not touched this machine since it came in. Okay, so fuel cap, which they lost and was mowing with no fuel cap. The tank is absolutely bone dry. But it does want a new tank. I did tell him that. But it does sit on there to a degree. Fuel is turned on. So yeah, no fuel in the tank, but it might have enough fuel just in the carby in the bottom. We shall see, just to fire it. As I say, this machine was only running on choke the other week, so on the choke. So it starts and stops. It's not running on choke, which is what it was doing beforehand. Let's get it up onto the bench and check out this fuel system leak, see what's going on with that. And once we get it up and running with no leaks, this machine will then be filled up with fuel all the way to the top and then run fully. Right, Hayter 56 now up on the bench. First thing I'm going to do before I do anything, we know the machine's running. I want to put some fuel in and see if we're getting a fuel leak or not. Because as I say, this machine was taken round to him with fuel in it by me. It was around my house for 2 days, and I checked it every day to make sure it still runs and what have you. Because as a small engine mechanic, that's what we do. You don't ever want to send a machine back that's not running. So even Taffy's mower I fixed yesterday, if before Taffy comes to pick that up, I should be running it up 2 or 3 times throughout the day, making sure it's gonna hold. Now, that's got in there some fuel. The fuel tap is turned on. No leaks. Now, he sent me a video to prove it was, there you go, leaking now. There you go, right, okay, leaking now. So we're getting a fuel leak coming out. Let's investigate that. That's coming out the top of the carby because it's not out the bottom, it's dripping from way up here. So that tells me it's out the airbox. So let's turn the fuel off. So we've got a leaking carb. And bearing in mind this had a carburetor clean, so I had to give it a donor carburetor the other day. Let's take all these gubbins off. On a flathead driver, 8mm, to remove said airbox. I'm not. This video isn't a complaint video. It's not me complaining, right? But I like to do these repairs so that people can see it wasn't leaking when I left here, because I think people think I'm trying to pull their pants down, and I really ain't, you know. It weren't leaking for 2 days all the time I had the machine. And then you ring me up and say, it's leaking now. So, it baffles me sometimes why these machines do it. But we shall find out. I'm going to put an 8mm onto here. And I'm going to remove the carburetor again off this machine. Because that fuel tap's turned off and that's still leaking out of here. So let's loosey-goosey these off. To be fair, this machine's done so many hours. So many hours, man. This is the same machine that came a little while ago, because the guys have filled them up with, do you remember they filled them up with chainsaw oil? Do you remember that video? Okay. So, take that off. Now, there's a donor carb that I put on here because the gasket is broken. The Chinese carb that he bought for this machine, I believe, failed. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the carburetor off. I'm going to remove the fuel hoses off the machine, and I'm going to do a pressure test on this carburetor to make sure it's not letting by, which is what it sounds like it's doing to me. But that could be because dirty fuel's gone into it, a bit of dirt. Bear in mind this carburetor was cleaned not so long ago, so technically there should be nothing in here. But it is leaking out of here, you can see it is. In fact, what I'll do is I'm going to turn that on and see what's going on. Coming out of that hole there, out of that one, there it is there. So it's coming out of that hole just there. So let me remove this fuel line, take that off. And then I'll get me my little tiny 8mm. We're going to go down the back here. And we're going to try and get in there and loosen off carby bolts. Now, this machine's been in there more times than Conqueror has. The wind's picking up. Okay. So that will now remove. We can now remove some of this stuff off of here. I've got this spring, which I've replaced twice on this machine, because I keep knocking it off because I keep ramming it into hedges. That spring's been replaced more times than my underpants this week. Right, take that off. Take that bolt off. That will come off. We've got your auto choke rod's got to come off, and then you've got your governor arm's got to come off as well. I'm going to put that spring out of the way because I don't want that to get lost. Just checking if it is actually an O-ring on the back of here. Yeah, that's all in place. That's not been nicked or anything like that, so that's all good. So here's our carby. Let's get it up onto the bench this time. Quick little look at it, and we'll go from there. I'll leave it just like so until I get it up on the bench. So I want to inspect what's in the bottom of that carby. Okay, all up and running. Let's get a light in here just so we can see what's going on. Right, here's my carby. Not touched it. Okay, well, apart from just moving this end. tip it up onto its side, and I'm going to crack that. Oh my word. I'm going to tip it onto its side because I want to see if there's any dirt in this car, because it was carburetor cleaned. I take the old main jet out and that. There it is there, and there you go, look. There's the dirt. Now that carburetor was cleaned just the other day. Not long, less than a week ago, and there's already dirt in that bowl, as you can see. Are you all seeing that? I'll make that absolutely crystal clear. Let me take it, try and tip some of it out without getting rid of the dirt. There you go. There's the dirt in the carby. Okay. So if there's dirt in that there carby, then that tells me potentially we could be letting by. If he's allowed dirty fuel into his carb, into his tank, that gets under the needle and lets by. Right, now that's on. I'm going to do that up, make sure it's done nice and tight. Yep. There you go. Now, priming the carby. Nothing. Lift the carby up. Nothing. Force it down. That carby's now failed. It's not allowing anything, any pressure in at all. So what have happened? Well, there is a bit of dirt. I'll try and show you if I can. I'm being sort of scientific here because I have to be. If I can get it for you, let me see if I can get hold of it without dropping it. There's a bit of grass there. Can I get it or not? There you go. Little tiny bit of grass there, look, see that? That was right on the end. So what I'm now going to do, I'm now going to remove the needle. I'm checking for condition of the needle, which looks to be okay. I'm now going to force the needle down into its home. And I'm going to pressure test it with my finger in place. And look, it holds and does its job. Okay. So now I'm going to put that needle back onto a float. And we're going to try again. Was this held up just because of a very, very small piece of grass? In fact, I'm going to double check that it's definitely clean. There's a little bit of grass just on the edge of that needle. So I don't like doing these sort of videos because, as I say, I get digged at because people say, "Oh yeah, I worked on it, no, it ain't working," you know. I didn't put the dirt in the carburetor. I cleaned it out. People wind me up sometimes. I say it's not a bloke's fault. It's the people that he employs. Dirty fuel. Dirty fuel in a carburetor is 99% of the reason why it fails. So all I've done so far is just literally put that all back together and just cleaned out that needle and seat area. All I've done. I'll put my pressure tester back on. Ouch. Don't want to introduce no more dirt, Mick. Right, we're reading 0. Oh look. Oh look. What's happening now? Oh, now we're holding pressure. And put it back on. Okay, not touch that float. 5. Oh, just popped out. It's just too much pressure. So 5 pressure. 6 pressure. It's holding at 6. You don't go much more than that anyway, because we'll just blow it out anyway. But that's holding at 6 psi, which is roughly what it should be holding. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to leave that just sat like that. That ain't going to move for about half an hour. Okay, I'm going to come back to that. It will move as I just upset it slightly. So that's now at 5 psi. Let me just show you guys. Let me just take off the old quick release stand, so I can do that now, quick release. So now that's holding at 5 psi. Okay, let me try and get a decent view. There you go, 5 psi. I ain't going to touch that. That's going to sit there. I ain't touching nothing, right? And I'll come back to that in half an hour. or 20 minutes, so. But normally, if it holds there like it is now, generally, they're pretty good. But I want to make sure that ain't doing nothing else other than what it should be doing. So already my diagnosis is dirty fuel was allowed into the tank, which got into the carburetor, which then upset the needle and float. Needle got stuck and flooded the carburetor out. So that's what I think it was. Was it my problem? No, don't think so. Okie dokie, been about half hour now, 20 minutes, half hour, something like that. Had a cup of coffee, a bit of a chat, and there you go. It's still holding exactly where it was beforehand. So that's now holding. So I'm not quite sure what was going on there at all. I got a feeling it was dirt in the carby. So now what I'm now going to do is I'm going to double check and clean that seat area with a Q-tip as well. Give it one last final clean and put it back, test it again, and then put it back together. But I believe it's just dirty fuel. So let me get it cleaned. I'll be back to you in 2 ticks. Okay, so carburetor's now fully been cleaned again, put back together, and as you can see, that's been sat for about 2 or 3 minutes, something like that. And the carburetor is now holding at exactly 5 psi. I should let it sit there for about another 5-10 minutes, guys, just to make sure it is actually holding. But generally, rule of thumb is if it's doing that, and there's no difference within seconds, you know, generally you can tell if it's going to let by or not. But this little tool was given to me by my very good friend Hank. He's really old, about 110 years old. He sent me this all the way from America for me via an Amazon wish list, sort of an internet thing. He sent this to me, and this thing has been my life and death thing. You know, this tool is brilliant. It's non-OEM, Klaus. It's non-OEM, but do you know what? For what it is, a cheap little tool like that, absolutely brilliant. So I'm happy with that. Sat at 5 psi, no dramas. Let's get it back onto the old machine, and then we'll go from there. Okay, back on the machine. Where did my little tiny spring go? I don't want to lose that. That's the bit I don't want to lose. So I know I have not got a spare one. I know I ain't, so I don't want to lose that. Put that somewhere safe, Mick. Right, turn the carby around. So that was holding, okay. Now I have just sent a video to the gent as well, just to prove that it's actually holding in place. So auto choke goes on, governor arm goes on, that goes around the back. I'll fit the little tiny spring in a minute. Just make sure when you put these on, it's little tiny. It's not these ones that go on the carby. It's actually the ones with a little tiny hex nut on it. Okay. I don't know whether or not I'm actually getting a bit of glare back off of the light of my camera, or if you've got a dirty screen now, I've been spraying stuff on it. Give a bit of a wipe off, that's better. Right, okay. So, the ones with a little tiny hex nut go on. That all goes on like so. I want another one of them. Oh, tell me I dropped one. I'm missing one from somewhere. Where's that gone? No, tell me I've lost a bolt. I ain't been nowhere. I've got to try and find the other bolt first, peeps. Give me 2 seconds, let me find the other bolt. I've lost one of my bolts. Found it, it was on the floor. Right, so that goes into there. That all goes into there. That all goes up onto there. And then that goes onto there. I'm going to nick them up. So what I've also done, just to clarify my own peace of mind, I've sent the bloke a video footage of it actually holding PSI and the dirt in the carburetor and all that sort of stuff. Now, you know, it's difficult, isn't it? Because, you know, he's trying to run a business and all the rest of it, his machines are failing. But I've always said, cleanliness is godliness. You've heard me say it in all my videos with regard to carburetors. If you're running dirty fuel through your tank, then potentially you're putting dirt into your carburetor. Now what I'm going to have to do with this one is do a tank flush again and make sure we got all the dirt out the tank. Make sure that's all as it should be, and then we can go from there. So I'm going to put this little tiny spring on now, which is going to go on that little tiny governor arm just there. It then goes forward and hooks onto that spring just there like so. So that all works as it should do. We're on choke. There's no fuel in the tank at all. The tank, in fact, the tank is empty, isn't it? Yeah. Tank is. Oh no, there's fuel in the tank. So I'm going to drain that fuel out of that tank just to run that through. Let me grab a little container. So all this fuel now, this is fuel that I put in. I'm going to run that fuel out. Let's see if we get any contaminants. But one single piece of grass, one grain of sand will affect the running of a carburetor. Now, this is a problem with old style carburetor size engines, and we're moving forward to battery power. So this is one problem you're not going to get. But you know, if you just try and keep your fuel as clean as you can all the time, then you're never ever going to run into these issues. So I'm just draining this fuel out. There's not a lot in there. Let me get it drained out and I'll be back to you once I've done it, because it's going to fill this jug up. So let me do that and I'll be back to you in 2 ticks. Okay, that is now all the fuel, all bar just a couple of weeps just coming out of it. All the fuel now out of this tank, and that tank was pretty clean. But you know, you're always going to get little tiny bits in there. So you know, possibly you could put an inline filter on there. That would help things possibly. But they do also restrict flow as well. I have seen that. But you just got to literally keep your fuel clean. So I'm just going to put some fresh fuel in. I'm going to turn that off. Put some fresh fuel in that tank. Just enough. I'm going to drain that out again, just to try and get rid of any contaminants there are. Let me clean that jug out. So make sure that we've got a clean utensil for purposes. So I'll just make sure the tank is actually clean. So the tank is empty, so anything that should have come out through that carby anyway. But he could have been running his tank low. That's got a clean jug in now. I'm just looking for dirty contaminants, but this fuel is absolutely brand spanking new, and this is the ethanol free, not ethanol free. This is the V Power, so it is ethanol free. So this is a V Power one. All right, so look at that. So what that's doing. Yeah, and as you can see in there, look, absolutely crystal clear. Nothing in there at all. So that's clean. So we've got nothing coming out. So that's good. So now the test is to put the fuel pipe back on, and just, again, you need to be careful and make sure all your pipes are clean. And this is something that small engine guys do every day of the week. Is that, you know, when they're connecting pipes back up, they're not trying to introduce any more dirt into the carby, because all that hard work you just done to clean the carby out, you could literally just put something back in just by not making sure it's all clean. So cleanliness, godliness. I don't need to keep repeating myself, do I, people? Right, so now I'm going to put a bit more fuel in here. So was it my fault? Was it my fault initially in saying it needs a new carby? Should I just have said to the bloke, new carb, 50 quid, bang, leave it at that, go OEM only? Or should I've told them about the cheap carb? You know, everyone wants a deal, don't they? Everyone wants it cheap, but you know, you can't always have what you want. So I think in future I'm going to say to people, yeah, new carburetor, 50 quid, take it or leave it. You know, I did tell them what's a new fuel tank, told them that a long time ago. Right, so now I'm going to turn the fuel on, and now what we're looking for is this carburetor not to leak. Okay, so it's all clean underneath here. There's no leaks coming here at the moment. So let's leave that fuel turned on, and then we're going to come back to this in 2 seconds just to make sure we've got no leaks. Just going to dry this area off here, make sure we're getting nothing coming through that shouldn't be. So everything is all dry. But pretty much you should be seeing a leak straight away. Start dripping. So I'm just going to leave that for 2 or 3 minutes, and I'll come back to you in 2 ticks, and then we'll go from there. I don't like to keep cutting the video off, because you guys might be thinking, oh yeah, you turn the video off and blah, 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 blah. Do you know what? I'll leave it running. I'll leave it running, and we'll go from there. But pretty much there's fuel in the tank now. So we should be getting some kind of fuel leak system. And last time it was coming out of here, out of this hole. And it took about a minute or so to come out of there, and then it started to drip. But as you can see, I'll move the camera down. Now you can see that carby is not leaking. It's not letting by. It's not doing anything it shouldn't do. Now the real test is going to be start it up, run it, okay, and all that sort of stuff. And I'm going to run a full tank of petrol through this machine to make sure that the machine is reliable. Okay, now it would have possibly stopped running if the carburetor was letting by. You're getting poor running because you're getting too much fuel. So that might be why the machine wasn't running. Again, dirty fuel. But I'm going to fill this machine up, and I'm going to run a full tank of juice through this machine, and then next morning I'm going to fill it up again, or fill it up overnight. So we've got fuel in it overnight, and then I should come back in the morning and check it. And what I may even do is show you guys either in this video or another video, but I'll do tomorrow, to show that there's still fuel in this machine, and he's not going to have this back. Today is Wednesday. He's not having this machine back until Saturday. Even if he wants the machine back, he's not having it back, because I want to make sure that the machine is sound before it goes back. Because he's obviously telling me that the machine is failing. So it'll be nearly four days before he sees his machine again. On top of the 3 days he's had to wait to get it in line to get it fixed. But this just goes to prove I try to do the best I can do, and the most honest I can be with all these repairs that I do. I don't cut any corners unless I really have to, but I always tell the customer if I do cut a corner to make something work. But as you can see, I've been waffling here for a minute and it still ain't leaking. Absolutely bone dry. I'm going to get a bit of blue rag so you can see, a bit of shop rag, because that always shows any form of leaks. So it's absolutely bone dry. Put it underneath. Bone dry. Yeah, nothing there at all. Do it again. Bone dry. There's nothing there at all. Okay, so that tells me it was always letting by on that carburetor. It's coming out of that hole just there, that jet. Okay, that's where it's coming out from. So that's telling me the carburetor is now fixed, and it was dirty fuel. It did it. Now let's get it all, put it back together. I'll meet you outside in a tick, and we'll go for a run up, make sure the machine runs, and then I should then literally just fill the tank up and start the machine up, go and have a cup of coffee, and make sure the machine runs for about 20 minutes, half an hour on a full tank of juice. As long as it runs with no problems, then that's that issue solved. It'll then be filled up again overnight and then checked again in the morning. If there's fuel in there in the morning, we're golden. If there's no fuel in there again, it'll be the carburetor. So it'll either be more carburetor cleaning, or I may just advise him, brand new carburetor please, £50 OEM one, and I'll get it fitted for you. So I'll meet you outside once I've got it all together, and I'll be back to you in 2 ticks. Okay, Hayter 56 now on the lawn. It's weather's just starting to come in, so I won't be out too long because it's a bit windy and it's starting to rain. Just transferred it from the shed. Still no leaks. No leaks. Okay, but it is raining, so in case you see a drop of water somewhere, it is starting to rain. But there you go. So no leaks on the Hayter 56 now. It's all working as it should. Well, all doing what it should do. Question: does it now run? Well, it did start to begin with, but it was letting fuel by. So on to choke. It's idling, picks up, drives, starts and stops, no choke, starts, does what it should do. And also, I will just say, I did, before anyone even dares comment, I did put another gasket behind there. There's the old one. I did put the other a new gasket on behind there as well, just to make sure it's not sucking too much air in as well. So it's got a brand new gasket on behind there. As I say, I don't cut corners. I am as honest as I can be. But when you're working with very, very used equipment, this has done a lot of hours, And I did tell him that when he first turned up with it. He thought he bought a lovely machine, but I don't even know what year it is. That's been tore off, which is convenient. Most people do. Oh, 2013, there you go. It's been painted, someone's painted it. 2013 model, ball front tyres. And anyone that knows a Hayter, if it's got ball front tyres, it's done a bit of hours. But as you can still see, under the carby, test, nothing, bone dry. There's nothing there. So this machine will now be filled up with fuel, full tank of fuel, and then run. And just run until it nearly runs out of fuel again. And then filled up again, so it'll have nearly 2.5 litres, nearly 3 litres of fuel going through this machine over the course of 2 or 3 days, making sure that it's filled up overnight to see if the fuel level does drop overnight. And after that, that's all I can do.